What's going on, everybody? My name is C4. Welcome back to more C4. Better late than never. We are doing our Eagles season prediction video. We're going to use the power of Madden, go week by week by week. We're going to have a final record along the way, and maybe we'll throw in a couple prop bets in terms of how I feel about the team, who could potentially break out on the squad. And we're going to finish up. I asked you guys on Twitter, give me some hot takes for the Philadelphia Eagles for the upcoming season, and I'll be able to react to those ones. But we are here. Sunday, football Sunday. It still doesn't feel real to me. Doesn't feel real to me, damn it. It is here. Philly kicks off midday against the New England Patriots in New England. I think they're doing like some Tom Brady thing today at halftime, which is anytime you can. I mean, we did lose to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, but no one remembers that. Everyone remembers Nick Foles doing the damn thing. So I feel like there's a little extra motivation. I have Philadelphia beating the New England Patriots here today. I just think, you know, we're just at different spots, right? The Patriots finally have to, and more so Patriot fans, finally have to go through that little bit of a rebuild period after it looked like they would just win forever. This is your time to be humbled. This is your time to appreciate what you had, and you got to find a way to build back up to get there. Not quite there. I think Philadelphia dominates the line of scrimmage. I'd say if I had to worry about anything in this matchup, you know, it looks like Zeke Elliott might be the lead running back. Ramondre Stevenson might be banged up. I think it's Matt Judon. I think Matt Judon is an outstanding player on the defensive side of the ball for the Patriots, and I think it's going to be a big-time battle. I think he's probably going up against Lane. He lines up at, left-hand side, going up against the right. So that's definitely going to be a battle to watch, and I think, you know, if we had to just throw something out there, Bill Belichick does and can put up all-time performances for a defensive scheme standpoint. And I think that could be tricky for Jalen Hurts. Like, I think this could be a game. I think Philly wins it, but I think it could be a game that it's ugly, an ugly win. Bill Belichick's defense, Bill Belichick's scheme, Bill Belichick against scrambling quarterbacks. I feel like he could make it very, very difficult for Philadelphia to move the football, even though we are so heavily favored in terms of talent. But I still have us getting the dub, and make sure you guys tune in tonight after the game. We will be doing a post-game reaction here on More C4. You're not going to want to miss it. Week 2 against the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Vikings are definitely taking a step back this year. I don't think it's going to be a gigantic step back, but they're like in a weird roster rebuild standpoint where, like, you know, I feel like they still want to be competitive, obviously, when you have Justin Jefferson and you're still paying Kirk Cousins a lot of money. But it also feels like, you know, they let guys go. They moved on from Dalvin Cook. They moved on from Adam Thielen. And sure, there's an element of, like, sometimes you're just going to let those old guys leave. But I think you can make the argument, at least, especially for Dalvin Cook, that was a surprising one. At least they drafted Jordan Addison, who could step up. And I feel like Dalvin Cook, yeah, you had that 1-2 punch with him and Madison. And when Dalvin Cook had missed time, Alexander Madison would kind of step into the lineup. But I feel like that was, like, more fantasy football related than it was, like, Alex Madison was actually really good as a starter and deserved to be the RB1 for the Minnesota Vikings. And, like, why were they cutting costs? Like, what happened with that? I mean, maybe I missed it. I just feel like, generally speaking, the Minnesota Vikings are weaker this year than they were last year. And I think they are a bad matchup for the Philadelphia Eagles, who, let's be honest, Philly has absolutely owned the Minnesota Vikings these last couple seasons. I don't really see much that could change that. We have week 3 against the Bucs. This needs to be, if you look at the big picture for the Philadelphia Eagles schedule, that has to be a win. You know, there are a couple games. The Bucs, we get the Rams week 5. I think we get the Cardinals late. Like, we have a couple wins that, like, have to be wins. They absolutely have to be wins. Even if, like, we have injuries, we still have to beat these teams. And I think, unfortunately for the Bucs, they're kind of falling into that spot right now, especially as it relates to the quarterback spot. I don't think anyone is too bullish on the Bucs. So we have a 3-0 start. We have the Commanders at home. I like Sam Howell more than most. I was saying last year, my very first rebuild for the Commanders wasn't any, like, trying to go draft a big-name quarterback or trying to trade for a quarterback. I was like, no, I'm going to rebuild the Commanders with Sam Howell. And I got roasted in the comments. People were like, we're not going Sam Howell. You kidding me? Reason why he followed that. No, now he's their starter. I think Sam Howell played good football at North Carolina. I thought he was one of my sleeper quarterbacks. And not a sleeper. Like, Sam Howell was a guy that was projected as a first-round pick and kind of fell a little bit, so you can't really say he's a sleeper, but I never really doubted him. Like, if he went in the first round, I'd be like, yeah, he has a very interesting skill set. And when you look at the Commanders, you know, got a healthy Jahan Dotson. You got, hopefully, by that time, I know it's Scary Terry, they're playing him in the freaking preseason. I remember I was watching that game, and he got hurt in the preseason. And then I had people defending it. They're like, no, you got to get the reps going there. Like, absolutely you don't. Philly didn't play a single freaking starter in the preseason, at least on the offensive side of the ball, it felt like. And we're good. We're rolling. We're rocking and rolling. So, the Commanders are going to be difficult. Any NFC East matchup this year is going to be difficult, even though I think pound for pound, Philly is better than all the other three teams. Biased and not biased aside. But at home, I think Philly for sure, and that's a spoiler for what you're going to see, I think Philly handles business at home at Link. I think we sweep the division at our home games. So we are now 4-0. We got the Rams. I feel like the last time we played the Rams was when Carson Wentz did his knee in. But that's one you have to win. Absolutely have to win. No one knows what's going on with Cooper Kupp. As someone that thought it was an absolute steal getting Cooper Kupp in my fantasy league with my second pick. I'm in a 12-man league. I picked 4. So he went all the way at 6. At pick 16, Cooper Kupp was still there. Little did I know my league was time travelers and knew that he was going on IR and missing the first 4 games of the season. And I would say at this point, he can come back week 6. It'd be cool if we had to play the Rams down Cooper Kupp. But I think that's one we absolutely have to win. Here's a big one. I thought about making it the first loss of the season. I think the Jets are... I just think this is going to be a truly sensational game. With the last little bit of history, Philly has had success against Aaron Rodgers. And I think the big deciding factor for me in this game, one is I absolutely can see the Jets beating the Eagles here. Because we're at, it's not a massive road trip, but Jets are going to be the home team. But my deciding factor here is the Jets think they have the best defensive line in football. Philly thinks, us Eagle fans think we have the best defensive line in football. This is going to be a game where you're going to prove who has the best defensive line in football. And I think the tiebreaker for me, all things equal, is to stop that defensive line. Whose offensive line is going to allow their offense to stay in there? And I'm taking Philadelphia's offensive line over the Jets' offensive line every day of the week. But I will say that is the first game on this whole schedule that I'm a little bit worried about. Now we are back at home at the Link, and this is actually where I have our first loss. I think the Dolphins are not a good matchup for the Philadelphia Eagles. One thing Philadelphia is missing on defense is speed. I think as much as we like Slay, as much as we like Bradbury, as much as we're trying to figure out the safety room to a certain extent, as much as we like Nakobe Dean, and we want to hope Nakobe Dean breaks out, generally speaking, Philadelphia's defense is not particularly athletic. I'm not saying that we are slow. We're not, Slay's still pretty quick. But I think when you go up against a offense that has Tyreek Hill, that has Jalen Waddle, that has Devin Achane, those guys there are all burners. And I feel like speed kills, and I just think that's going to be an awkward matchup for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think between the Dolphins and or the Jets game, week 6, week 7, I think that will be our first loss of the season. I think those are 2 tough opponents from the AFC East, and I just think the Miami Dolphins a little bit trickier and matchup maybe a little bit better. Week 8 on the road against the Commanders. I can't see a Sam Howell-led team right now beating Philadelphia. All things equal. So we have a sweep over the Commanders. But you know what I will say about Sam Howell? I don't think he'll be a quarterback that will celebrate a terrible tic-tac, roughing the passer penalty like their last quarterback did. So I'll say that. We got Dallas at home as we're sitting 7-1 ahead of our Week 10 bye, and I think we handle all of our business against the NFC East at home. We moved to 8-1. Now, this is the only good thing about this upcoming stretch of games. It is a murderer's row. Kansas City, Buffalo, 49ers, Dallas in 4 straight weeks. At least we got that coming off of our bye. So we're going to have a little bit of mini rest to get ready for the back end of the season. First up, against the Chiefs at Arrowhead. I think this is going to be obviously a gigantic game. It's just one of those ones of we are not going to, only have one loss. And Kansas City at home, they're an outstanding team. They'll have Travis Kelce back. They're not going to look like the Chiefs that we saw against the Detroit Lions. So that's one of the ones that you can kind of pencil in as a potential loss. So for the sake of this argument of we might have a slip up here, there might be some injuries that pile up against a team that we should beat. We also have a loss against the Buffalo Bills. I think the Bills, I think Philly could beat everybody this year. I think Philly has the talent to go 17-0. Will they? 98% they will not. But these losses, these aren't that's a loss, we'll move on to the next one. We could beat Kansas City. We could beat Buffalo. We could beat the Miami Dolphins. but things happen along the season that I can't assume that are going to happen. So it's kind of like anytime you do a prediction video, anything that like, yeah, that's going to be really close. Sometimes you could side towards tossing a couple losses there. I'm not saying we don't have a chance against the Chiefs or the Bills, for example, but I'll tell you right now, Week 13, the Brock Purdy revenge game. Hopefully they don't block Hassan Reddick with the tight end. We're going to kick the shit out of the 49ers. I'll say right now, the Canadian dollar is so bad that unless my YouTube channel, when is this? This would be like November? Week 14? Yeah, around then. My YouTube channel is still crushing it. That's the one game I want to go to this year against the Niners. I have a buddy that's a Niners fan. I'd be sick to go with that. I don't know. But that's the one game on the schedule that I want to kick the... Oh, man, we're going to kick the shit out of the Niners again. We're going to absolutely kick the shit out of the Niners. Like, there's a lot of revenge games. Like, this is an outstanding schedule for the Philadelphia Eagles. Even though people are saying it's harder and the strength of schedule, all that stuff. Yeah, that's true. But there's so many games that it's just like, fuck yeah, that is going to be an awesome game to watch. That's going to be that much more of an awesome game to root for the Philadelphia Eagles to win. Like, the endorphins of that will be incredible. So I will have us splitting the series against Dallas. Dallas is likely going to be another playoff team. So I had us winning at the Link, and I had Dallas winning at Jerry World. As much as we want to just clown on the Dallas Cowboys, they are still solid. Dak's Dak, but CeeDee Lamb's nice, Tony Pollard's nice, offensive line is solid. Defensively, you got Micah Parsons. We'll give them one. We'll split with the Dallas Cowboys. Week 15 against Seattle. I actually think this could be a sleeper game. Since I've been a Philadelphia Eagle fan, that's been one of the teams that we've always just struggled against. And maybe they're not peak Russell Wilson Seahawks, which were the real, the teams that got us. But I think Seattle's a sleeper team this year. Geno can manage games and can occasionally, get 3-4 touchdowns. They got two legit running backs, Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. You got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, this freaking Jake Bobo guy who came out of nowhere in the freaking preseason. Offensive line is getting there. Defense is coming along. Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen in that secondary. Jamal Adams will, hopefully, he actually probably won't be because he's always hurt, but he might be healthy by then. So I actually think that's a tricky one on the road, on the West Coast. So we will have the Seahawks potentially maybe upsetting the Philadelphia Eagles there. But Week 16, we're back at home against the Giants. We saw what happened last year when we played the Giants. We kind of own them. The Jonathan Gannon revenge game, if there was ever going to be a week that Philly ran the score up, I do think it would be against the Arizona Cardinals there. And that's, again, much like the Rams matchup, much like the Bucs matchup. There's 3 or 4 games that you circle on the Philadelphia Eagles schedule that, those have to be wins. And I feel like the Arizona Cardinals fall on that threshold. Now, I was thinking about making this a loss because Philadelphia has shown, Nick Sirianni has shown that we rest our starters. But because of the strength of this schedule, I don't think we're necessarily going to be in a position where we have everything locked up Week 18. So with everything to play for, I think we're going to go on the road to the Giants, kick their ass, go 12-5, win the NFC East. I think we should have a first-round bye. I think we should end up being the number 1 seed in the NFC. You look at the other competition right now. Who's the second betting favorite? The 49ers? Do we really think Brock Purdy and the Niners don't have a cupcake schedule? You think that Brock Purdy-led Niners are going to finish ahead of us when all said and done? I think Seattle, Dallas, that's probably it, right? Niners, Seattle, Dallas are probably the biggest competition for the Philadelphia Eagles. No disrespect. I mean, Giants, Commanders, the whole South is a question mark across the board. No one really knows, what the North's going to... I mean, Detroit, I'll show a little bit of respect to Detroit. I took Detroit we did a Detroit Lions rebuild on the main channel right before that Thursday night game. I said, you know what, give me Detroit tonight. I didn't bet on them, which I should have because that would have been a nice little bet. But Detroit's going to be solid this year as well. But I think when all is said and done, Philadelphia is going to go 12-5. They're going to win the division. I think, obviously, I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. As far as the squad is concerned, predictions for the team, I do have Jalen Hurts winning the MVP this season. Because, obviously, he sent me that, and he sent me this special. Me and Jalen Hurts are pretty much boys right now at this point, so I'm going to back my dude. If I had to say anything on the offense, hot take on the offense would be Devontae Smith leads the team in receiving yards. I think we are incredibly blessed by Tebow gods that we have 2 wide receiver ones on this team. I think I don't want to spew any negativity in the air. But A.J. Brown struggled to stay healthy in Tennessee. Last year was healthy rest. I think that there might be an injury or two this season. Nothing serious, but I could see A.J. Brown missing 2-3 games or something like that. And Devontae Smith being healthy for the entire season. Therefore, Devontae Smith finishes leading the team in receiving yards. I think I can't make this without fantasy implications because I own one of these running backs in fantasy, but I could see Kenny Gainwell being the RB1 when all is said and done. I think a lot of people right now are assuming it's going to be DeAndre Swift. I think talent-wise, it could be DeAndre Swift. Should it be DeAndre Swift? But I just have this gut feeling that Kenny Gainwell is the running back to own for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think he showed during the playoff run last year when he kind of really took over RB1 over Miles Sanders. He just couldn't stay healthy. That, Kenny G can do it. Kenny G, he knows the offense. He has that advantage over Penny and Swift. He can catch the football in the backfield. So my slight prediction for the running back room is, I had to say, it's still going to be a logjam. If you have any of these guys in fantasy football per se, you're not looking good because it's going to be a lottery roll every single week. But if you had to say who's going to finish with the most yards, most points, if you're going into fantasy, mindset, I think I'd go Kenny G. Hot takes on the defense. I don't want to say negative things because I am so high on the Philadelphia Eagles. So high on the Philadelphia Eagles. I would say I don't buy into the hype that Jalen Carter is going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think that is a popular take right now. I think he literally is the Vegas favorite. I just don't. He's not going to play enough. There's going to be other rookies across. I think he's not going to have a bad year. I think he could get 6 sacks, 7 sacks. I'm excited to see just how filthy this defensive line rotation is. But I think there's going to be other rookies that are going to they're clear-cut starters. They're going to be playing all the time for the defenses. That Jalen Carter, who's going to be a rotational guy. He's going to be rotating in and out with Fletcher Cox and Milton Williams. I just don't think the volume is going to be there for him to win an award like that. I think you look at the secondary. I think a lot of us are pretty bullish on Eli Ricks. I'm not necessarily going to throw this as a prediction, but I could see Eli Ricks. He will start at some point for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. Don't know why. Don't know how. I don't want to. Again, never want to put any injury voodoo into the air. It could be in the slot. I don't know. But I think Eli Ricks will start for the Philadelphia Eagles at some point. Not lock down a starting spot, but I could see him starting at some point this year. Even if it's just for a game, that is still pretty ridiculous. Making the roster as a UDFA and starting for the best team in the NFL, at least the best team in the NFC. And I don't know if I could. There's anything else there. I mean, I'd love to see Sidney Brown eventually kind of go into that starting role. Linebacking core, some tough. I guess the last thing I could say is we all hope Nakobe Dean is the answer because linebacker is a big question for the Philadelphia Eagles right now. What the hell are we gonna? It's likely going to be these two, I would assume. Nakobe Dean, Zach Cunningham. Cunningham, the veteran, Nakobe Dean. But Nakobe Dean's just a question mark. He's an absolute. We don't know what we have in Nakobe Dean, and I think that's. I don't want to say worrisome, but it's very much something where it's what do we have? And is it one of those things where it could be too little too late if we struggle at linebacker? Would it turn into maybe what happened with our defensive line last year, where we thought we had something in the defensive line after a couple weeks, we're like, holy shit, the run defense kind of sucks. So then out of nowhere, we just bring in Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph. Could be, but I think big question mark. Maybe that would be my hot take, is I think a lot of people are kind of penciling in that Nakobe Dean is going to be great. And while I am also optimistic that will be the case, I think I'm a little bit more realistic in thinking that that's a question mark right there. I don't know what we got. So with that, let's take a look here at some of your hot takes. We got Blake here saying Kenny G is going to lead the team in scrimmage yards. Lead the team. That's leading the team, having more scrimmage yards than Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown or even Dallas Goedert. Certainly a hot take. We got Thomas saying the Eagles not having much quality depth behind Devontae and A.J. is going to be exposed. He also says an issue in the secondary. I know this guy's a Ravens fan. I like him. He's pretty solid on the old feed when he replies. He says he doesn't know it's going to be Bradbury taking a step back or the safety's not performing, but I feel like there'll be something. I think to each one of these points, the Eagles not having much quality depth behind Devontae and A.J. A lot of reports are that Quez Watkins has stepped up, but that until he proves that he can be consistent, he can be reliable, he can be a reliable target for Jalen Hurts. I think the issue when people say quality depth behind Devontae and AJ, true, valid. I think I like Quez. I think Quez is a wide receiver 3. We got Zacchaeus, who is a solid wide receiver 3 for the Falcons. Like, we do have some depth. The drop off is pretty noticeable because Devontae and AJ are such a high level. But how many teams like that? That would be the same thing as like, the Dolphins. What if something happens to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill? The Dolphins are gonna have a gigantic drop off as well. There's just not a lot of teams that have 3, 4, 5 guys deep at the wide receiver spot. But what I will say is that if something happens with Devontae or AJ, I don't think enough people, and I think this goes into the fact of him being underrated, Dallas Goedert can step up. Dallas Goedert could be our number 1 target for Jalen Hurts in a game or 2 if Devontae and AJ's hurt or something like that. I think we could force feed Dallas Goedert similarly to how the Ravens force feed Mark Andrews, similarly to how the Chiefs feed Travis Kelce. So I think while valid, we don't have a lot of depth at receiver. I think when you accompany the fact that Dallas Goedert's a receiver, even though he's a tight end, I feel a little bit more comfortable there. And I think for the secondary, a lot of question marks at the safety room. Reed Blankenship, Sidney Brown, Terrell Edmonds. We got a lot of guys that we're just trying to figure out if they're going to be good or not. Justin Evans is there. I mean, I'm still hoping that at some point, the Cardinals just continue to smash that tank button and the Budda Baker trade can come back to fruition. But very valid take to say that the Eagles secondary, especially at the safety room, could have some question marks. Literally right below that, we got Marcus saying Ed Reed Blankenship will lead the team in INTs. I could buy in on that. We got Turquoise Hawk. Eli Ricks becomes a slot corner instead of Maddox. I think sleeping on Avonte Maddox. I think Maddox is probably, I don't know if I want to say he's top 5, but he's definitely a top 10 slot corner in the NFL. We got Mike that says Jalen Hurts will be a legit MVP candidate. Not an Eagles fan, but they should make a strong push for the Super Bowl. Anybody about the Cowboys? I think Jalen Hurts, should be a legit MVP. I was talking about this with my buddies, not to make this video super freaking long, but there's always the fool's gold. Anytime some quarterback, some player, but we'll put it in the context of a quarterback, has a breakout season, you're always worried about the following season. Is the rest of the league going to catch up? Is the rest of the league going to approach him differently? And it's not going to be the same. We saw that a little bit with Josh Allen, I think. I thought we had that big breakout for Josh Allen. And while he's still been pretty good, we've seen like the turnovers pop up. Teams are playing him differently. Josh Allen kind of went like this. And I feel like he's starting to curve just a little bit. He's still playing at a high level. He got to this point. But like it was just like, is Josh Allen going to literally take over the league and keep going? I think we saw last year, like the turnovers and stuff, Josh Allen's like, okay. And there's always that worry, could that be Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts is going like this after last season, runner-up for the MVP. Our team's going to play him differently, so he starts to bottom out a little bit. And my answer to that would be maybe. That absolutely could potentially happen. But a lot of times when you have these quarterbacks that do this breakout, they don't go on the playoff run. They're like, oh, they had a promising regular season, and we're excited what could happen in year 2. Like, that's how you kind of view quarterback breakouts. Jalen Hurts did this, and then he went to the playoffs, kept going, and then he went to the Super Bowl and kept going. Like, how many quarterbacks have had a breakout season and the next year sucked? A lot. It happens. How many quarterbacks have had a breakout season, had a historic Super Bowl, and then suck? Has that ever? I don't think that's ever happened. I don't think. So I just feel like the odds are that Jalen Hurts is not going to be exposed this year, because if he wasn't going to drop off, I think we would have saw some of that drop off in the biggest game of the season, the Super Bowl. That was he elevated his game. He got even better than the quarterback that ran up to Mahomes for number 2 in the MVP race. We got Knight says the defense will end up with more sacks this season last season. That'd be cool because fuck Jonathan Gannon. We got Nick saying Jalen Carter goes nuclear. And we got Jose saying they will lose to New England week 1. Well, we got that coming up here, fellas. Week 1, Eagles, Patriots. I think the Eagles go 12-5. Let me know your Eagles predictions in the comment section below. And as always, come back to the channel. We'll be here hanging out post-game, Eagles, Patriots, reacting to either hopefully a win or what would be one of the incredibly frustrating loss and everything in between. So make sure you guys stay tuned to the channel. If it's your first time stopping by, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's your boy C4 saying peace out, love ya. Have a good one.